Alrighty, welcome everyone to our weekly Law of Attraction Roundtable call. We hold these every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So my name is Kevin Young, and my wife Suzanne and I are facilitating the roundtable discussion tonight. Our company is Personal Success Programs, and we host webinars, workshops, and coaching programs based in the Law of Attraction. We're located just outside of Detroit, Michigan, in a little city called Novi. So we're hosting these free online calls as a way to build the global community of Law of Attraction practitioners, guys like you, and we believe that the more people who understand the Law of Attraction and apply it to their lives, it will be better for everyone on the planet. So we're glad that you guys are part of this community of self-empowered and self-responsible individuals who are making this difference. So a little bit of housekeeping. Just relax and get comfortable. There's nothing serious going on here. You can click your little raise hand button if you have something you want to ask. And the second half of the call is all about question and answer. So please feel free to bring up any question that's important to you, because if it's important to you, it'll be important to other people on the call. And if you're just on a telephone call, sometimes they don't show up in my window here, so just go ahead and say your name and speak up when we get to that section, because we don't want to miss anybody. And I've had people who show up in my window and then they disappear from the window and then they show back up again because there's something about the software that does that. So don't be shy. This is a round-robin discussion. And also the workshop is being recorded, and there will be an email link that'll be sent out afterwards. It'll contain a link to the recording in case you want to play it back yourself. And most importantly, have fun. Also, if there's going to be noise in the background, please mute yourself until you're ready to say something, and then be sure to unmute yourself. And there's a little microphone button on your screen that you can use to do that. If I hear a lot of background noise from somebody, then I'll go ahead and click your mute button, and you can still unmute yourself, but just know that I can manage that from here as well. Looks like we have Margaret here. Hi, Margaret.
Howdy.
Good to have you online.
What's that?
I said it's good to have you online.
Yes. I'm so excited to finally be able to catch, well, at least part of it. I teach yoga, so I have to leave at 7 my time.
Okay, and that's what, a half hour?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Now, are you calling in by phone or are you on computer?
I'm on the phone.
Okay. You're one of the people that didn't show up on my list. That's why I've got to get after these people. All right. And we also have another Margaret who's on the line, which is why I wanted to be sure who I was talking to.
I've never met another one.
Oh, another Margaret. Oh, my goodness.
It's sheltered life. I don't know any either, but now I do. Hi, Margaret.
Hi.
All right.
There's Margos and Megans and Mo's, but a real Margaret.
We already had our first breakthrough here.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, guys. So I guess let's just get right into it here. All right, well, so to start off with, we're doing what's called a 10-minute topic. We started these a couple months ago, and they seem to be quite popular. We just introduce a Law of Attraction concept, and we can either talk about it afterwards, or you can bring up whatever subjects that you want. So today's topic is how to use masterminding with the Law of Attraction. A lot of you, I'm sure, have heard of the term mastermind, and sometimes it's equated to brainstorming, although they're not actually the same thing. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the Law of Attraction version of masterminding and how you might be able to apply it, and then we'll take your questions. So, what is masterminding Law of Attraction style? Well, the purpose of the Law of Attraction mastermind, the process itself, is to tap into the mastermind. That is all that exists, all consciousness. And it's simply done by getting on the same frequency of it and then holding the focus there long enough so that we can start tapping into the stream of consciousness. The benefit is that we gain incredible access to the knowledge and ideas that are available universally. So if you consider that every thought that's ever been thought is just a burst of energy and it still exists in the universe, and is part of universal consciousness. Every consciousness that has ever existed still exists. You have access to all of that. And so you get some idea of how big this is and what can be available to you. When you do a masterminding process, even on the smallest scale, the results can be exponential. They can be phenomenal. It's mind-blowing sometimes the ideas that can come up when people take the time to actually integrate the energy and ramp it up. The thing is that these days we are so distracted by the noise around us, our mobile phones, and I'm guilty of that myself, interruptions, reminders, and so forth. We often don't build much momentum, and so it's a lot more work to get things done. But when we take time to actually focus energy in a very consistent way, like a laser beam, then we create over a certain amount of time powerful, powerful energy that then taps into this broader intelligence. But you got to take the time to do it, just like in your own personal life. When you do it with individuals, it's things like meditation. When you do it with a group, it can be like masterminding. There's really not a lot of difference there. Just the group energy is collectively, when done right, is even more powerful and opens you up to more possibilities than an individual. So how is masterminding different from brainstorming then? Well, brainstorming itself is more focused on directly solving problems using your physical thinking brain, the thing between your ears, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, and I used to brainstorm for years. But the problem with it specifically is that it tends to inhibit the receiving of broader intelligence, broader knowledge, because the focus is usually on the problem and not on the solution. And the frequencies of the problem, the frequencies of the solution are different. Solutions are always creation-based, and so they're always the highest frequencies. The results are always the highest. The problems, on the other hand, are always in from a lack state, and so are always in a more negative energy. So subtle but important difference, because the more in alignment or at the higher end of the frequency spectrum, and you can tell by how you feel what end you're on, the more aligned that we are, then the more we have access to that frequency, because the frequency of universal infinite intelligence is always the highest frequency. So we got to get our frequency up in that frequency range, just like tuning the radio station on your dial there. If you want the jazz station, you got to move the dial over to where the jazz music is being broadcast. And most people don't know how to do this, and so they live frustrating lives. But this is what you guys are learning through the law of attraction, is how you can do that kind of tuning. So the other disadvantage of brainstorming, because I actually studied this some years ago, my first workshop through personal success programs back in 2007 when we started the company was on goal setting and brainstorming. And I created a program around that, and what I discovered around brainstorming, the disadvantages were two important ones. One is a thing called social loafing, which is kind of a funny way of saying it's a phenomenon where people simply make less effort in a group than they do as individuals, because you kind of expect the group to support you sometimes. Not always, but it's a phenomenon that tends to show up. And the other thing is more important, is called production blocking. And that's where there's a tendency for one individual who's speaking to inhibit the creative process of other people, simply because it's disruptive of other people's focus. Because the creative process is a personal process. It's where you're finding harmony with yourself and going through a creative motion. And so if somebody else is talking, then you're split between listening to them and focusing on yourself. So brainstorming has those two disadvantages on top of the fact that it's focused on the problem typically more than the solution. So masterminding gets around all of this stuff just by its inherent nature of being in alignment and harmony with broader intelligence. So a couple of tips on how to form a mastermind group. So masterminds are from with 2 or more individuals, and we do recommend you start small with 2 people, because with 2 people then you get to test it out, and you don't have to worry about multiple things going on, and you can grow it bigger as you get comfortable with the process and the energy flow. You also want to be sure that you're focusing on choosing people who are based in the law of attraction, if that's what you're interested in, or whatever the general temperament and interests are that match you. Because even though you do want some slightly differing points of view, the broader intelligence is where you're going to get your final information. So this is a tuning process that the 2 of you or more are doing together for the sake of tuning the energy, not necessarily getting the direct answers right off the bat. And so you need somebody who you feel comfortable around and can be able to discuss things with. And the primary focus is always going to be how to create a feeling state, not a thinking state. So you want people who are generally more happy and maybe not as opinionated and not as focused on thought and solving problems as they are about how to ramp up the energy of a good feeling. Because remember, the highest feeling energies on that emotional scale are the frequency of where broader intelligence is broadcast through. So all you have to do is identify a better feeling, and the intelligence will come through in terms of impulses and inspirations and amazing ideas that you may never have thought of before. So you want to start small and with people who can get into a feeling energetic state, a high frequency state. So then the process of holding the mastermind session itself, get into a quiet, uninterrupted space, just kind of like when if you're going to meditate, and remembering that the purpose is focusing on feeling good and not creating a solution in that moment. The solutions will come, I guarantee you that. And so it's basically a back and forth conversation where you're starting in a general place. That is, you're not specifically focused on the subject. So instead, you're focused on how something feels. And whatever you're generally focused on, you can pick a subject, but you got to be really general about it. You're going to just talk around the subject, talk about in generalities, talk about how good it feels, talk about things that do not lead you to a conclusion or lead you in a specific direction. You're raising the vibration, you're amplifying the vibration. For those who are familiar with Abraham Hicks' work, this is what we would call a rampage of appreciation, or a rampage up the emotional scale. So you're picking phrases that increase the energy and increase the feeling to a higher and higher frequency. And if you don't have an emotional scale, that's a helpful thing to have. The book Ask in It is given by Jerry and Esther Hicks, has the 22 emotions on it. It's a really good guide for this process. It helps you move up that emotional scale. So you always want to start positive and keep it positive, okay? It's a back and forth conversation. Only one person talks at a time, and then another one does, and then they build off the energy, and you slowly ramp it up. Don't ruffle any feathers. Don't try to solve problems. Don't get too specific. Just keep it in the soft, gentle, increasing energy flow. And eventually what will happen is as you do this work, you'll start to get streams of consciousness will start to flow through you. I mean, that's the simple explanation of the channeling process. And we all do it at different times in different ways. I do it when I'm coaching, for instance. And you all do it. So this is how you do that. You open that up, and now ideas will start to come. And then by the end of the conversation, if you really got a smooth process going, you'll start to have specific ideas, and the whole group will start to tune itself together into one. And people will start to have ideas that they'll speak while other people in the group had the idea at exactly the same time. That's when you know you're on the same frequency, because you're tuned into the same consciousness stream. And it can be multiple consciousnesses. And there's really no way to tell easily what you're tuning into. All that matters is you're getting something that's on the frequency of your own intention. So by the end of the session, you'll start to get all sorts of really exciting ideas, and that's when you can get specific. Focus in on the ideas that are coming, start writing them down, start knocking them around back and forth, and it's a blast. It's a lot of fun when other people are starting to say the ideas that are coming into your head and vice versa. That's when you know you've got it tuned. And so you go for as long as you can until you start to feel the energy drop, or until you feel like you've reached the conclusion. Don't let it backslide. Don't start pushing it or feel like you got to keep going for a certain amount of time. This has to be free form and unscheduled and untimed, unless you've got a maximum time you want to go. But usually you're not going to go, 15, 30 minutes with this process, because it's pretty intense. But the answers are incredible. I do this in my coaching sessions, and I would say that most coaches who have been doing this for a while, at least the ICF trained coaches that I'm familiar with, do this inherently as part of the coaching process. We set a vibrational tone that's high, and we have set high energy and high expectations for the clients, and we know that they're going to have an outcome. We know that they have access to infinite intelligence, so we know that they're going to have solutions to their problems. It may not happen in this session, but it will over time. So we hold that knowing up high, and then as we have the conversation, we're always bringing the energy up in the conversation, and eventually they catch up. And so they're now at a high energy, and so when they get to that point, hopefully by the end of this session or so, or in that neighborhood, they'll start to have big awarenesses about things, and at the end, then we conclude with the action steps they're going to put into place. But that's a simplified version of masterminding that starts with 2 people. So you guys can all do this. So I encourage you to, if you have got somebody close to you that you want to try this out with as a start, it's a blast to do, and the energy is really incredible, and who knows what world problems you might solve as a result. So that's the how to mastermind using the law of attraction in a nutshell here. Any questions or comments on how that works or how to implement it? And if not, then let's just get right into the Law of Attraction coaching. So go ahead and put your hand up if you're online, or just go ahead and speak your name if you're on the telephone. And don't be shy. Remember, your question is in the same frequency as everybody else's question. Who wants to be first? I see two hands. Okay, Liz, I see your hand is up, and then followed by Margaret Harris. Liz, go ahead. You there, Liz?
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, I'm here. That made a lot of sense when you talked about your coaching, because I had coached with you for quite a while, and, it did bring me to, like, aha moments continually. It was absolutely amazing how you kept your energy high, and your knowing that I would get to where I needed to be, and not knowing where I needed to be, but I would get there. And I just wanted to tell you I appreciate that, because it was really life-changing. I mean, I don't remember every single circumstance, but I'm farther ahead than I was then, and I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're quite welcome, Liz. And you're an example of somebody who was always present and focused in the coaching sessions, and that's, again, you can't dance if one partner's missing. So nice co-creation
Right?
with you. Yeah.
I had
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you first.
Oh, this is off the subject, so if you have something to say, go ahead.
We got an hour here. We're just having fun.
Okay. So, I wasn't really sure what to do today. My sister had called me, and you guys know of her migraines and strokes, and on it goes. And she had just gotten out of the hospital a few weeks ago with some residual effects from 3 TIAs, which she shouldn't have such residual effects. But I kept her knowing that she's going to get everything back, and it irritated the heck out of her, because she was always strong and always confident and always knowing that this is just a temporary thing. Well, then she went into the pity party, and I wouldn't dance, and so we had an issue. But she then called me this evening and said, can you please pray for me, because I'm really scared. And she has some different feelings with her migraine that she hadn't had before. And so, I started to freak out. Okay, Andrew, I will. I love you. I'll talk to you later. Call me when you wake up, or, whatever. But in my home, I started to go on that fear mode, freaking out. Oh my God, what if I lost my sister? Oh, I can't take this. Oh, da da da. And I was going there, and I'm sliding down, the peripheral whatever slope. And then I just started texting people saying, will you pray for my sister? And I just kind of lifted it off my shoulders, because I couldn't do anything at that point. I was, I was emotionally immobile. And so I just kind of went general, and I started saying, other people need to pray for her, people that know her, my angels in my court, which Suzanne's one of them, but I didn't, she was getting ready for this, so I didn't send her that text. But, I sent people that I knew her and could, like, relieve it from me, or I put it in their laps. And, oh my gosh, I felt so much better. And knowing that, I don't have control of that. And so went back into, okay, she's going to be fine. Other people are praying for her. I just have to know. And then I got a phone call that then she said she had these different feelings. And then, of course, I went into positive mode, which I always do. And said, well, maybe, your brain's rerouting different different blood flow, whatever. But it ended up being really good that I could lend my stress to my friend.
Nice.
Very good.
What you did so well, and Liz is a master at Law of Attraction, she recognized that she wasn't feeling good. And as she said, she went in general, and that's what we were talking about earlier. There's a real power in being able to release the negative focus, because the flow is negative focus, sharply focused, and then going less focused to more general state, and then turning positive, and then getting more focused in the positive. But you can't jump from the bottom to the top in one fell swoop. So you got to do it in general terms first, and that softens the momentum. It slows the speeding car down in effect. And Liz did that by turning it over to her friends, and knowing this process pretty well. And so, and there you go. And it's the best that you can do for anybody else, is to make yourself feel better, because that's where all your influence is, the energy that we're radiating out. So Liz, you did the best you could for your sister, and we all hope that she recovers from this.
Kevin, I had a question for you, though, is that, and I can't remember what Abraham had said, but when you have somebody that is having, and Suzanne knows this too, and maybe Suzanne is the one, but I don't know, you guys can decide that. But when you have someone that is physically challenged, like my sister, which has a rare brain disease, and I just keep trying to continue to see her whole and complete, but I'm not, is there any direction you have for me?
To do what?
As far as what my energy can do to uplift her.
Well,
to have her see it in a different way, to have her have a knowing that she's going to be okay.
Well, that's, I hate to say it, but it's not really your responsibility. It's hard when it's a family member, and you can do your best, but your best is you feeling good. Because the thing is that she's creating her own reality. That's how Law of Attraction works, and I know you know this. And it's most difficult when we take on the responsibility of somebody else's well-being. So that's something that you got to come to terms with, that she's on whatever trajectory that she predetermined before she even came into her body, and it'll end when she and her own inner being decide it's going to end. And we can't control any of that. We don't have any direct influence over it. We have indirect influence, though, because all illnesses are created from intense negative emotions that are unchecked for long periods of time. It's just the body, without the brain turned on, will heal itself within a short period of time. There's tons of proof of that. So the best we can do is to influence other people by being the example of how to move up the emotional scale. And it's tricky. As a coach, even, sometimes it's difficult when a client is down to not get tangled in their energy. But I know that as soon as I do, I am no longer a coach, and I am no longer bringing coaching energy to the situation, and I'm not helping either of them. So I have to be selfish in that respect. Again, speaking as a coach, a Law of Attraction coach as well, that I have to take time before with a client to center myself and meditate sometimes. And then when I'm with that client, no matter how dire their circumstances, no matter how bad the situation is, what they've been through, who tortured them, how much money they lost, whatever it is, I have to see their inner being. I have to look inside them and past the human being and into the divine, non-physical, perfect, pure positive energy being, and focus there. And if I hold my focus there, then that's the best chance I have of helping them to find it if they want it. But remember, they're coming to me as a coaching client because they specifically want that help. You can't help somebody who's not looking for it.
I'll add a thought, if it's okay.
Please.
All right, Liz. I can relate so well in a way, because when you love someone who's hurting, I mean, what we want to do is take the hurt away for them, and we want to heal them, but of course we know we can't. And I think what I the experiences that Kevin and I have gone through, especially after his surgery with his brain tumor and all of that, and or any time when he's hurting, it's my mother instinct to just want to make it all better. But what we've learned over our years together is the best thing. I'll say, is there anything I can do for you? Like when he's in pain or something. And we've both learned, I'll say it to him if the time arises, is the best thing I can do for him is to stay in alignment as best as I can, be good to me, allow myself to find ways to feel good through the days when he might not be feeling good, because that's more powerful. It's more influential for him to help when he's ready, or anyone's ready to have their spirits lifted or their energy come up. If you're up there already, you will influence and draw them up. But trying to do things to help them feel better, trying to make someone else happy, or that's not what you're trying to do, you're wanting to heal or to be healed, is impossible, because they are the ones in control of their energy field. You are the one in control of yours. So I've learned over and over again, every single time we have some kind of energy shift between the two of us, Kevin and I, both of us have learned that the other one's actually, it's almost like a call to action to get back in alignment for me, or vice versa for Kevin. If I'm having a down day, all of a sudden he just becomes powerfully strong, and it's an amazing journey. So I do have to remind you what a wonderful thing you did when you texted your friends and took that weight off your shoulders, because it isn't your job to help Andrea overcome this situation that she's in. And so you just turned it over to the universe. You texted your friends. And the last time you were on one of our Law of Attraction Roundtable calls, I loved the statement you made, and it just lines right up with this, when you said, I just know that God's always got my back, and the people, everyone's always there for you. One of the things I picked up on our Alaskan cruise was, we're not in this alone. None of us are in this alone. And you were the first person to say, God's got my back, and your friends, those that are in alignment with you, supporting you, they've got your back. We're all here in it together. And the more of us that can stay in alignment and hold that good frequency, it helps those that are struggling, wanting to come up. So I think you're doing a great job. I'm glad you got on the call.
Doing the best you can, Liz. Does that make sense, Liz? Is there anything else on that, or are you good for now?
Well, no, yeah, I mean, it's
a big
what
subject.
I anticipated hearing, that I couldn't change the universe. But
well, but you are changing the universe by being deliberate about your focus. You have the reach that you have. We all underestimate the amount of influence and the power that we have by simply choosing to focus thoughts. So you're doing the best that you can. One last thing, and then we got to move on here, is the importance, and we can talk offline if you want. We always love to chat. And that is that when the frequency is too far apart between two people, you cannot come together. And so the danger is, when you're around somebody who's pretty low, is that they will suck you down out of your alignment, because you won't rendezvous with them at all. Law of Attraction won't allow it if you let yourself go down. So sometimes if you're feeling like you have to force yourself to go and see her and whatever, and you're feeling like you're going to sacrifice yourself, if you can't get yourself back into alignment, it may not be worth going, because it may not actually be helpful for you to be there if you're too far vibrationally apart from where she's at. Does that make sense?
Kevin, yeah, I totally appreciate that, because I after I hung up the first time, I texted all my friends and did my pity party all by myself, and I do a great party, by the way. But anyway, so she called back in a much better mood, in a much more positive feeling, and I said, I know, Andrea, I'm always the positive one, because she doesn't always want to hear that. But yeah, she called back feeling better,
Nice.
and knowing that it may be a breakthrough for her, but just holding that space, that I'm not going to go to the depths of the deepest part of the ocean with her, because that's not going to help her or
Good for you. Oops. All right. Thanks, Liz.
Anyway, thank you, and I appreciate everyone for taking their time.
You bet. So I have Margaret Harris's hand up, followed by Deborah Thompson. So Margaret, go ahead. You're
Yes,
online.
hello.
Hi.
I have a mastermind choice question. Actually, a couple things. So, in choosing someone to do a mastermind group with, do you ever add more, or is it always just two?
Oh no, you start with two just because uh, masterminding law of attraction style is a delicate thing because you're not tossing around thoughts, you're not trying to solve a problem, but you're trying to find a feeling place with words. So it's a very gentle, general conversation, and it takes some practice. And so we always suggest that you start with two people, and particularly somebody who you feel comfortable having a feeling conversation around and who understands this material. And then once you get comfortable with that, introduce individuals one at a time so you can build the group energy up.
Okay.
That
So, are
makes
you
sense?
going to have a mastermind how-to class?
Well, it's funny. I hadn't really thought about the mastermind about even information on this call until earlier today when then I started to remember, okay, let's see, pull all the information again. I thought, well, this is pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe I will do that. Is that
Right.
something you'd be interested in?
Sure. Well, they say two or more are gathered, right? They have an exponential power. So,
That's
I
right.
can appreciate that, but getting a how would be, or I know it's free form, but going
Oh,
through
look.
one or having seeing
Hmm.
one happen somehow it would be beneficial, I believe.
Okay. Well, I definitely put it out there. We're certainly in the process of creating new programs and such, and want to provide what people want, what's going to help the most. So
So if you have two and it's flowing, you want to bring in more, you both agree. Is that how it works?
that'd probably be the best. Yeah. Remember, to me, the big focus here is always how does it feel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Every question that you're asking, ask yourself, how does that feel?
Uh-huh.
And and both of you, if there's two of you now doing it, then you say, okay, if we want to invite Joe, how would it feel to have Joe here? How is Joe going to add to the general good feeling conversation? Will he bring us up or bring us down?
Right. Okay, great.
Yeah. And then you can't get it wrong. I mean, there's no wrong
I love
mastermind.
that.
Yeah, you just want to do it. So what you're going to find, Margaret, particularly somebody who's got such good knowledge and awareness of law of attraction, is it won't take long, based on what I know about you personally and how quickly you make changes and then have results, that you find the right mastermind partner, and you guys will have some tremendous success.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah. Anything else? Is that it?
No, that was my question. Good.
Okay.
Or
Thank you.
questions.
Mhm. All right. Deborah, you're up next. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You there, Deb?
I didn't know I had myself muted.
There you go. Well, we can hear you now.
Yes. How are you guys?
We're
Good.
doing pretty good. How are you?
And I bet too. Anyway, about the mastermind, I thought when you talk general, which you keep saying to do, that softens it. But when you're masterminding, and let's say there's a subject that you want to mastermind about, maybe to bring more of that type of energy to you, whatever it may be, health or money or love or whatever.
Hmm.
Am I getting this right? And then you
Well,
would maybe,
no,
okay.
there's a little bit. You're right on par for brainstorming, which is what most people are familiar with. So the secret with masterminding is that although it does solve problems and create tremendous ideas, you can't start off with a focus. Okay, so you're right on the money when you said you're asking about going general. You have to start in general with a feeling. How do I want this conversation to feel? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be on the subject per se, although you probably would want to start with it. But see, the thing is that when you introduce, like let's say relationships, for instance, I want a good feeling relationship. We're gonna mastermind on how to get great feeling relationships. The predominant energy is I don't have a relationship.
Right, it's the lack. Yeah.
Right, and of course, everybody would be there, right? If you don't have something, that's what you're going to be aware of.
Couldn't
And
you
so,
just say a lot
what's
of
that?
affirmations, or can't you just say a lot of good things about a relationship and what you like about relationships and stuff, and not have it be a lack, but just talk about how wonderful it is?
All you have to do is believe it, which almost
Well,
nobody can do, because if you believed it, you'd already have it.
how wonderful relationships in general are, let's say. Okay,
Yes, now
just
see,
talk,
there you
you
go.
know.
There you go. Beautiful. So you use the word
Right.
gen.
Yeah, okay, that's what you mean by general. In that general.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But this is like I said, this is a really delicate thing to get to perfect and to even get
But
started with.
couldn't you say specific things about good relationships?
Sure.
All the little things you can think about that's good about a good relationship?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
And then so one person says something and the next person feeds off of it and you just keep going, right?
there you go. And so
But
again, I'm going to keep coming back to this. If you say something that's idealistic, that triggers the feeling that you don't have it in yourself, then you're going to go down the emotional scale. So you got to
okay,
be really careful that you feel for everything that you say and be sure that what you're saying feels good. And if it doesn't feel good, then stop and then get back into the general warm flow of moving up the emotional scale. So it's a tricky thing when you're focusing on things that you don't yet have. So I think I would suggest if you're going to practice this, find something that you don't have a lot of resistance around. Something that doesn't have a lot of meaning one way or the other. And just see what you can do to ramp the energy up around that specific subject. And then see if you get, see if after 10, 15 minutes or so, you guys start to get some ideas flowing. And see if you start to get that, those powerful positive inspirations. Because that's when you know that you're on track and you've tuned into infinite intelligence. And then once you get that perfected, then maybe you start to focus more on subjects that have a little bit more meat to them. Does that make sense?
hmm And then of course if somebody starts feeling the lack, we just stop, right? And
Yeah,
then maybe
yeah,
try
yeah. Just
again
go do
later.
something else. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or if there's a way you can get it back easily by going more general and broad, then do that. It does, like I said, you can't get this wrong. You're just taking where
Okay.
you are and going to a better place, and it's just a lot of fun. So if you keep it fun and light, then you'll have a lot of success.
Okay. And there's another thing. I would love it if you could expand more on this when people are thinking the same thoughts, because, this has happened a lot in my life and probably everybody's, where you're saying the other person's saying what you're thinking. Where is that stream that we're on together? Is there other people on that stream too with us, or is it just something between the two people, or what is it?
It's a great question, and the answer is pretty big. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you sitting down?
Here he comes.
The thoughts you're thinking are not your thoughts. The process of focus and intention is
Are you
vibrational.
there?
Yeah, are you there?
What a time for me to.
Oh, Deb.
I think I
Well,
broke up and I didn't hear anything after the time was
are you
ready.
there? Are you still there? Well, there's always going to be the recording if
Yes.
any of you guys have to drop off. So you're okay?
Okay.
Okay, so
Yes, I can hear you.
all right, so the thoughts that we're thinking are not actually our thoughts specifically. What we do is we set an intention, we set a focus, we set a vibration, we actually set up a frequency through intention, and then we receive thoughts. Our brain is not a thinking machine, it's a transmitting and receiving vessel. It's not a storage cabinet for memories, it's like a radio station, a two-way radio station. And so we are actually receiving thought streams. Believe it or not, a thought actually thinks. Thoughts actually expand into multiple thoughts, which expand into multiple thoughts, and we're tuning into them. So when you're on a similar vibration, you're both feeling the same way, you have same thought patterns, and Suzanne and I do this pretty much every single day. And we'll be sitting there not talking about anything, and she'll say something that I was just about to mention. I mean, it's every single day. Wouldn't you agree, Suze? Or if not,
Oh, yeah. Yep,
more
we
than
do.
that? Yeah.
We
And,
laugh
and
and giggle.
And there was a time, early in our relationship before we understood this, when you're like, no, I said that first, or no, I thought that one. That was my idea, whatever. In jest, of course, we'd never fight about it, but it's just you think, well, I know I thought that first. But the thing is, we both thought it because we both were on the same frequency and we both received the same stream. So you don't own your thoughts, none of them. You don't own your ideas. If the patent office knew anything about this, they'd go out of business, but that won't happen.
Wow, you really busted my bubble.
It's terrible. Yeah, you wanted to own those thoughts, didn't you?
Yes.
Well, the neat thing is that if you can let that all go and then know that what that means is that when you're receiving those thoughts, number one, you're on the same frequency as that other individual, that's masterminding. Because at the end of masterminding, that's when that will happen. You'll both be saying things that the other person is thinking. And that's the coolest thing of all. That's the indication that you're not only tuned to each other, but you're tuned to Source. So it doesn't get better than that. So you can be proud of that. When that's happening, you know you're tuned in. So if you've been experiencing that, good for you. So don't need to own your thoughts because it's irrelevant. I mean, who cares, right? If you had a good thought, then great, you got a good thought. Wonderful. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Well, it works both ways, doesn't
it? Yeah, so you can't really, you have no control over that. You can't throw somebody a thought.
Nope.
Or can you?
No, you're receiving thoughts. You're not.
You have to be lined up to it.
Well, you can think a thought. I mean, you can be thinking about something, and somebody else can be on the same frequency. But there's no law of assertion anywhere in the universe. Everything is by attraction. Everything that's coming to us is attracted to us, including the streams of thoughts. Make sense?
But I bet if you're thinking a thought over and over, and you are lined up with somebody, that they'll eventually get that thought.
Only if they're on the same frequency.
Yeah.
Right? You can't if you're sending rock and roll signals out to the universe and the other person is on a jazz station, they're never going to receive it.
Kind of send a thought.
What's that? You broke up there, Deb.
Yeah. But once we know we're lined up, once you know that you're on the same thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
You can hear me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if you both know already that you've established that you're pretty much on the same wavelength, so to speak, then maybe at that time you could try and think a thought that you want the other person to catch, and maybe catch it.
Well, that'd be a great experience. Well, first of all, remember you're not thinking the thoughts directly. You're receiving the thought stream based on your vibration. So you can't really throw a thought anywhere. But this ties back into the masterminding process. If you both receive the same thoughts, you didn't think it, you received it, but if you both receive the same thoughts, then you're on the same frequency.
Yeah, but we have to be wanting to think about a thought. I mean, we have to have some control about what we think about.
You do?
Obviously, we have control about that. So
Sure.
we can choose to catch a thought.
Well, by being conscious, you're receiving. Right? It's all about your intention. That's your focusing mechanism is what determines the width of the stream and the focus of the energy. Right? That's the going general, softens the thought stream, slows the momentum. Getting more focused in on something increases the thought stream and speeds up the momentum.
Awesome.
That make sense?
Yeah. It's
all
wonderful.
Right.
Great show.
Thanks.
Training or whatever it is.
Appreciate it. We're just having fun. All right. I see Sherman's hand has been up for a while, but I just want to be sure that anyone else who's on a phone call didn't have a question, because you don't have a hand to raise. Anybody else have something to ask before I let Sherman go? No? Okay. All right, my friend Sherman, you are online.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, good.
Hey, we're doing great. How are you, Sherman?
Yeah, that's doing fantastic, thank you. Suzanne, you got some color, looking nice and tan.
Yeah. Oh, you're looking at me.
That's great.
I don't know.
Yeah, she does that. She gets tan by blinking. Me, it takes a whole week in the sun.
I do.
Yeah, you're in some competition with me here. But yeah, so I'm gonna be kind of deviating from this mastermind. I kind of missed the first half,
Okay.
but I just have a question here, and well, it's about a girl. How about that? So
Good for you.
yeah, I guess I met a great gal a couple weeks ago at Starbucks, or I'm sorry, Barnes and Noble, and we've been having a great relationship and everything. It's just been really great. We've been hanging out, spending time together, all that good stuff. Um, so she's going camping this weekend with some friends, and I'm like embarrassed to even share this. It's just like bugging me, and I guess I'm gonna cut right to the chase. Like I'm feeling at the lower end of the scale right now. I'm feeling jealous. I'm feeling insecure, maybe even powerlessness, right? And yeah, she's going with a bunch of friends. Once again, it's only been a couple weeks, so I guess these feelings are kind of irrational, right? Like it's what am I expecting? Like I guess I'm kind of disappointed, maybe a little bit. Once again, a little bit jealous that I wasn't invited out, or who knows? Maybe later in the week she'll like drop it and she'll be like, "Hey, why don't you tag along also?" But it's and we're like with her friends and her sister and her sister's boyfriend and everything. They're like talking about this trip in front of me, and it's just like I don't know what to think about it. It's just like I don't want to say rude. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm blowing this out of proportion. And like, it's like kind of juvenile. It's like, we're not in high school. Maybe I should. I don't know. I guess I just kind of want your guys' input because I don't want to be obviously in that emotional scale range. I just want to. Maybe I should just kind of man up and ask her straight up, hey. But at the same time, I don't want to come off as being possessive, jealous. Once again, it's only been a couple of weeks, right? Why rush it? I mean, I don't know. I know this is really scatterbrained in my thought, but
Not at all. Women will do that. To us guys, anyway.
Easy, Kevin.
yes. Yeah, I mean,
No, I meant welcome to the crowd.
Not on purpose, of course.
Every guy I know has experienced that, and certainly including myself. So no, I want to acknowledge you for being willing to even talk about it, because
Yeah.
that can be a very disempowering situation, and the hardest thing sometimes is to even allow that to come forth. So it's a good first step to just bring it out in the open, where you can kind of turn it around in your hand and see what's really going on here. So you want to talk a little bit about that and get some clarity?
if you don't mind, that'd be terrific.
Not at all. Not at all. We still got about 10 minutes or so here on the call.
Right.
And nobody else raised their hand, so you're on, my friend.
Wow, I got the spotlight
right.
here.
And what we talk about here today is easily going to help everyone else on the call.
Yep.
So that's how it works. So one of the first things that tends to happen, that I can just speak from experience on around law of attraction, is when we get trained early on in our families to get love and attention from outside of us, and then we don't have it for a while or whatever, and it's taken away. It's what happens is when somebody shows up who then showers that affection on us, then it feels really, really good. And then when it feels like they're taking it away, then it feels really, really bad, and then it feels like we're, as you said, powerless. You hit it right on the head. And jealousy is one notch up, I think, from powerless. So, all in the same frequency range. So it makes perfect sense. So, I mean, the simple answer, which nobody can do right off the bat, is learn how to love ourselves and make ourselves the source of the love. And that's a topic of an all-day workshop. So we can't cover it here in 10 minutes, but it is an awareness to have that the feeling of the love and affection and appreciation that you're getting from her might be something that you could work on a little bit more inside yourself, so that when she brings it or takes it away, perceptively, of course, she doesn't really mean to do that, then we're a little more stable. So that's a longer term kind of answer. Short term is, I can think of several things here where we might want to go with this. So is it that you want to simply release the feeling? Is that the first thing? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess letting go of that feeling, releasing it, definitely is something I definitely want to do. But no, Kevin, you're absolutely right. Having that feeling of self-worth, loving myself more than anything else, so I don't have to rely on someone else's love or someone else's affection or care, I think is very, very important, right? Because this shouldn't affect me at all. She has her life, and I completely respect that, and I want her to have fun. I want her to be with her friends and whatever, and go have a blast or going camping, enjoy the weather and all that stuff. I want her to do all these things. I guess just spending time with her. Um, I enjoy being with her, so it's like yeah,
You're
double-edged
judging
sword.
yourself a little bit in that, is what I'm hearing. You said I should not feel this way, or I should let her go and do that. And so I'm gonna feed that back, and maybe you want to soften that a bit, because that's another good reason to, or good way to beat yourself down the emotional scale, because that's guilt, right? When we say should and I'm not doing something, that's two or three up from the bottom. So
That's
maybe,
interesting.
yeah, I wonder if you can let go of that part and be okay with the emotions as they come up, and maybe feeling the emotions. And even I would, what we recommend in our workshops, the all-day Law of Attraction workshops, which we, by the way, have one coming up this Saturday, is to get angry when you identify feelings of powerlessness or guilt or jealousy, is get alone, get away from other people, in your car, in the basement, in your bedroom, wherever, and just get angry, intentionally get violently angry at a pillow, I've heard the cardboard box and the screwdriver works really well, a punching bag, working out, bubble wrap if that really floats your boat, anything to screaming, yelling, anything to express the anger and let it flow up. And then above anger is blame, which is a softer form of anger. Get into blaming, it's her fault, blah blah blah. And as you get into that point, you'll start to feel relief, and then you get clarity. And from the clarity, then you can make. I mean, you already have some clarity now. I can feel, because you do want her to have fun, and you don't want to be restrictive or jealous, but there's still some pieces in there that to empower yourself in the state, you got to move up the emotional scale. We all have to do that. And anger, rage even, and anger and revenge, the feelings, not the actions, but the feelings of those are really important to acknowledge and let them wash over us and come through us until they release. It's the holding them away and then judging us for bad for having them is what keeps them there. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense. I just have a question though. If I move up to blame then and I start blaming her, then like, oh, she didn't invite me, or blame her for whatever, isn't that also kind of making myself feel guilty to an extent? It's like
Well, but here's the thing, that is your choice. Don't do anything that drops you down the emotional scale. The thing is that you're in guilt right now, so you don't know what blame feels like in this very moment. In this instant, we can only have one emotion at a time, right? Because we can only have one thought at a time. So go through the process and see what happens, right? When you feel this wash over you again, whenever it happens, get by yourself, however you can do it, and get really angry. And how would she like it if I went off and did something, and here we're so close, and get into the emotion and let it come up, and then I suspect you're probably going to do this naturally, but when you find yourself really, really angry about the situation, don't go back on yourself. That's the one key piece. Right? Do not judge yourself for having the emotions. Keep going up, and when you're in the anger, you'll reach for blame pretty easily. It'll be natural because that's the normal progression. But if you feel guilt coming over you in that moment, remind yourself, put a sticky note or something. I'm doing this because I need the emotional relief right now, and I'm not going to feel guilty about the way I feel because my feelings are valid. That makes sense?
yes. Ultimately, I need to find clarity by moving myself up the scale.
Yeah, and clarity is only at the top, and that's why it's so difficult when we're at the bottom. And that's why just having a couple go-to pieces is the best anybody can do. And that's why we always say, find a way to get really angry, because that's one thing people can think about when they're down there at the bottom, because it's within vibrational reach. So you don't have to think about a lot beyond right now, the getting angry part and finding feelings of blame and revenge until you've done it. Once you've done that, then you'll have more clarity. And if you want to talk offline, we can certainly do that. I'm really happy for you, man. You're you've attracted a lovely young lady, and even if this one doesn't work out for whatever reason, you've achieved that frequency, which means more are coming.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just how it works. Anything else on that you want to talk about?
I mean, yeah, I got a couple of questions, but I mean, I think we're running short on time here.
Well, let's set up a time. I mean, we got time for maybe one more quick question if there's something that you want to ask.
What do you think about just asking her straight up, like, and I was even thinking about, sidestepping it, like, hey, my friend's going out on the boat this Sunday, when are you coming back? And, like, hopefully she'll be like, oh, aren't you coming with me? I thought you were going to be joining me, or, like, something like that. Kind of indirectly asking her, or I could just, but I don't really want to do that. I would prefer just, hey, this is how I feel about this. Can I just ask? Because then maybe I'll get clarity from that. Just being like, oh, hey, well, this.
But that's a powerless statement. That's a powerless action. You're giving your power over to her to how you're feeling.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
So you might want to just be okay. Find some way to make peace with her going. Maybe she's not the one. Maybe, or maybe she thinks it's too early. Maybe she's just not in as big a hurry as you are.
That's just it. I think it's, it might be too early, and maybe I'm just rushing in all these. Yes, I do feel this way, but perhaps it is too early, and I'm just kind of, I'm rushing it maybe, and this is a pattern that has been around in my life. I've rushed it, and I've ruined the relationship. So maybe it's just like I need to step back, and whatever happens, happens. But in the meantime, yeah, get angry, get to blame, and move up, and just find some clarity in the meantime. So.
Yeah, give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Right. No, you're absolutely right.
And the best that can happen is you get your power back.
Exactly.
That's what we're all rooting for.
I'm just going to throw in one little more thought, if it's okay. And that is, just 1 minute. Being that you've only known each other for a couple of weeks, and you probably haven't gotten to know the people she's going to go camping with that much, it's possible, just giving her the benefit of the doubt, that maybe she kind of wanted to ask you, but the other people thought, it's too early, don't bring him yet, you don't hardly know him. You don't know, but it could just be something as simple as that.
Girlfriends, you know how girlfriends are.
So I just thought I'd toss that out there.
Oh, okay, and that's something else too. That she just, I did speak to her a little bit, and she was saying that this is like the worst time, just because she did get out of a recent relationship, but she really does like me, and she does see me as something long term. She expressed that to me. So, see, man, I love you guys. You're the best. Like, yeah, it just, yeah, right.
Nice job, Sherman. You've found it on your own. Hey.
Yeah, just allowing is so wonderful. Allowing just to unfold, and everything's going to work out for you. That's really positive.
All right.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet, Sherman. Thanks for being vulnerable and bringing that forward. Everyone had that question on their mind at some level.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday.
Who is this?
This is Deborah.
Oh, you're not on my agenda here. Okay, can you make it quick, Deb? Because we're at 8:30 right now.
I just realized I was using up all my data using my phone on the web.
Okay, so we're about out of time. Can you make it quick?
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody about this and telling them about different guys that have been coming up since I've been dating, and how I do reject the guys that seem too anxious. So I just thought I'd put that out there for Sherman.
Thanks, Deb. Thank you. This is that's very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Wow. Powerful, Deb. Boy, that was worth the price of admission right there.
I've rejected about 3 in the past week.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
All right, I'm gonna take my step. I'm gonna take my foot off the gas then. All right, thank you guys all so much. I appreciate you all.
Yeah, you bet. All
You're
right,
welcome.
thanks everybody. This was a powerful call. It went very deep, and that's what I love about these calls. You never know where they're going to go, but it's always something wonderful. So you'll receive an email in a little bit with a link to this recording. It'll be audio. We're not recording the webcams. It'll just be the PowerPoint, but it'll be all the information that you heard today in case you want to review it, take notes or whatever. Future calls will be held on future Mondays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you in the Detroit area, our next Law of Attraction-based meetup group with the Billionaires Club will be on July 21st, and the subject will be Learning to Trust Your Inner Voice, which will be more on the subject of the masterminding and tuning into that infinite intelligence guidance that we all love and have learned about today. If you want to learn more about Law of Attraction through personal success programs, we have workshops and webinars. Like I said, we have a workshop coming up this Saturday, which I think is the 16th, an all-day workshop on the basics of Law of Attraction called Law of Attraction Foundations. So go online to find out more about that at personalsuccessprograms.com or call us at 248-349-6225. Again, this is Kevin Young and Suzanne Young for Personal Success Programs. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.
Night. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.